watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
There we go. Very good gaming to you, and welcome to the Scottish Football Zone on our big weekend for Robbie and all the Celtic fans out there. It is the first domestic final of the season. It's the Premiership Sports Cup. It's only St Mirren against Celtic. It's a half-day kickoff at Hampden Park, and we're looking forward to it. As Robbie Regan, Robbie, are you nervous yet?
Very nervous, Michael. I've been nervous since probably about Wednesday, to be honest with you. I was more confident at the start of the week. After watching Celtic last night, the confidence kind of shot up a wee bit again. It's there for the taking at Hampden on Sunday at 3:30. And just a quick quote for Ted Lasso: "I believe in hope and I believe in believe. Show no fear against Celtic on Sunday and we can walk away champions." That's the way I look at it.
Regan, what about yourself? Firstly, obviously we'll get into the game last night. I know you were there, but are you confident but nervous as well?
Michael, I'm just looking forward to a good game on Sunday. I think it's going to be close. I think because of the manager, I think it's a 50-50 split. I think if it was Martin O'Neill, I would say possibly maybe 60-40 to Celtic, but because of Nancy and what I've seen the last few weeks, I'm thinking it's 50-50, Michael.
Yeah, Robbie, does it help as well that Celtic's had a difficult week against Hearts and obviously Roma last week? St Mirren's had a full week to prepare for the game, but also as well that they've got Wilfred Nancy coming in the door. The fans are fighting with the board pushing back on the fans a wee bit. Does this all work in Stephen Robertson's favour?
It does on paper. Unfortunately, that's not where football's played, Michael. And we can be as good as we want on the day, but ultimately it comes down to taking your chances. And what we learned at Ismaila Stadium is if you don't take your chances, really high quality, high value players can take theirs. And Callum McGregor obviously took his in Paisley to win the game very, very late on. So, the task is set. We can be as good as we want after the ball. We can be as determined as we want. But it's all about putting the ball in the net. And I truly believe we've got a big chance against Celtic. I know Regan was saying there about a 50-50. I'd argue it more 55, 45 to St Mirren, to be honest with you, after the week events. As I said, everything seems to be going wrong at Celtic, but the Celtic players are going to be hungry to get the first win under the new manager. And I'm sure the new manager, Nancy, is going to be willing to try and get his first win under the belt as well.
Obviously, we'll speak about the other games. Paul Donaldson's coming in with a few Aberdeen comments. Paul, hang fire, mate. We'll come back to them when we talk about Aberdeen's game against Kerry come out on Sunday as well. Robbie, you were telling me before we came on air, the last game St Mirren beat Celtic, was it 2-0? It was under Postecoglou, but it's quite weird that you said that to me, because up till now, even though Celtic's won the games, but St Mirren's dominated them.
The last time was under Postecoglou. It was the 18th of September. I remember that because Celtic were about to go 365 days unbeaten the whole calendar year under Ange, and we stopped that on I think the 364. Michael, as you know, Mark O'Hara scored that game. Jonah Ayunga scored that game. We're unsure whether Mark's going to be available for Sunday, but I'd love nothing more than him to be walking the team at the tunnel. So hopefully he is, and hopefully we can actually score this game. The last two games we've played against Celtic, we've not scored, but yet we've looked really lively. So, it's all about taking your chances, and it's going to be a really interesting game.
And Regan, good come back to the last time the both sides meet at St Mirren Park. As I say, we won that day. We won that night after the game. I think it was. And we were all saying that brilliant goal with Callum McGregor, but St Mirren could have won that game.
Yeah, I mean, St Mirren should have won, Michael. It's not a case of this. St Mirren, they had the best chances in the match and they should have won the game. Celtic just Celtic were very, very lucky. St Mirren had a few good chances. Obviously, they had that disallowed goal from Scales who put the ball in his own net, and people were thinking, oh, was it a deliberate act to move him back and then score? I personally thought at the time it should have been a goal. I just wanted to say something as well about this Martin O'Neill era. People going about as if Celtic played magnificent football under Martin O'Neill. Celtic did not play magnificent football under Martin O'Neill. But what Celtic done was they won matches. And I think that was the important thing. Michael, I mean, you look at the matches against the David Gray's side at Easter Road, you look at the match against St Mirren, you look at the match against Dundee. Those are three matches that are really hard to play in the Scottish Premier League, but Martin O'Neill managed to get 9 points out of 9. And you look at all three games Celtic were right rotten. But what did they do? They got 9 points out of 9. And that's the big thing for Nancy, is that I'm absolutely sick of him saying, oh, we played well here, we played well here. If Celtic go out there and they get beaten Sunday, St Mirren are the best team. You know, it's okay going, oh, we played well here, we've done good this second half. Celtic need to want to win football matches, and that'll be the only way that Celtic and Nancy are still going to be a perfect marriage. But I personally think they'll be a partner of the ways pretty soon, because I just really don't see an identity. I was inside the stadium on against Rome last night, Michael, and there was a lot of booing. Celtic fans weren't happy. It was nice to see Desmond did make a little trip up to Celtic Park after his time playing with some on some golf courses in America and things like that. It's nice to see he actually pays attention to what Celtic are doing. I just don't honestly see how he's managed to appoint this manager as Celtic manager.
Michael, sorry, Regan, on you go.
I just wanted to ask you your thoughts, Robbie. Do you personally believe that maybe some managers, when they go into Scottish football, they sort of underestimate Scottish football a little bit? Because I think he's totally done this guy.
It's so hard right now because, well, I might brag, I've not listened to every press conference, but it certainly doesn't seem like he's come in thinking he's all that and thinking he's, the best, and he thinks it's going to be an easy ride. I think with the way he's described performances, I think Celtic fans have every right to be angry. Him coming out and saying after the first defeat, oh, we played well, it's not about winning or losing. I mean, you can't say that as Celtic manager. That is absolute nonsense. That's the only thing that matters in Scotland when you're managing one of the big two. So I don't know. Maybe he has, or maybe he's just come in really inexperienced to this type of level, and it's taken him time to adjust. And maybe he can adjust. I mean, we don't know that. Nancy's had about now 5 training sessions, maybe 5 now at the course of his tenure so far. Ange had a full pre-season and lost his first 3 away games, so that shows that it does take time to adapt. Michael, it is so interesting. The last time St Mirren took on Celtic at Hampden, the 27th of January 2013, 3-2 to St Mirren in the season where we went on to beat Hearts in the final. The form going into that game for both teams, Celtic were unbeaten in 4. Celtic had just beaten Hearts 4-1 and beaten Dundee United 4-0. St Mirren had just lost 4-1 to Ross County and drew 1-each with Kilmarnock. And St Mirren came out there, obviously the Hampden part victorious in that night. That just shows to me, Michael, form completely goes out the window with a game like this. You can look at Celtic's last 2 performances. You can look at our last 2 performances. We're unbeaten in 2, Celtic have lost 2. Doesn't matter ahead of this game at the weekend, in my opinion. This is going to be one hell of a game, as Regan said, and I think it is going to be a very, very close one as well.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think Reagan, what I was going to ask you about Nancy was that he came in the first thing he did was change the system against Hearts, right? Now, I was thinking, Robbie, before we came on air, right? And obviously, before he took the job, he knew that there was going to be 3 big games coming up: Hearts, Roma, and St Mirren on Sunday. Now, if you were an Nancy or you were a manager coming in the Celtic, would you maybe leave the system the way it is and let these 3 games go by and then maybe change it?
Michael, I heard someone this morning, Tino was on Sky, and Tino was saying, I know Tino's been on the show, and Tino was saying that he believed that it's actually great from Nonsi to change the system because it actually shows that he's so wedded to the system. And I do agree with him to a certain extent because he could have come in here and he could have said, I'm not going to change a thing. But he's stuck to his principles and he's done what he's done. But I just don't think it's working. I watched a lot of the players last night. I don't know if you've seen the game, Robbie, but I just felt like the players looked agitated, confused, bored like that. I just didn't think they looked fully on board.
He tried to change too much too quickly, Reagan. He did. But as we said on the show last night, a manager's not going to change his philosophy. That's not how football works. Managers believe in playing their way. They believe that their way is the best way. So I'm not surprised that he changed so much so quick. But it's creating a lot of confusion. There's been a lot of talk around the tactics board. I think that getting ridiculed is absolute nonsense. Managers need that. That's how they communicate with the players. If they're if Callum McGregor or whoever it might be is no understanding something, it's a very quick fix using a tactics board. You can show them on that what a day very quickly. So I don't really see how that's getting ridiculed. I think everybody's got a different way of coaching. I think that's Nancy's. I think his back three's the way he likes to play. And let's be honest, at this point, I mean, look, Celtic fans are just going to wait, be patient with us. It's not going to be a quick fix. It's not going to, it's no, as I said last night in the show, Michael, it's no football manager. You can't just implement a tactic and win the league every season. That's not how football works in real life, sadly. So, it's going to take a bit of time, but the Celtic fans flinging them under the bus already, I think it's very, very harsh.
So
the only thing I would say to you, Robbie, is Dyson Maeda only had 2 touches of the ball on the full match. I don't know if you read that stat, but a Celtic striker should not only be having 2 touches of the ball.
No, you're right, they shouldn't. And it's something Nancy will need to sort, but Reagan, the reaction of Celtic fans already wanting Nancy fired, it's far too early for that. It's far too soon. It's far too harsh on a football manager after 2 games to demand he gets sacked. He's only had about, as I said earlier, I think he's only had maybe 5 training sessions if you take into account days off and stuff like that. He's not exactly had much time to prepare these players. As I mentioned earlier, Ange had a whole pre-season behind his back and didn't start off very well. So you've got to give this guy time. And as I said before we came on air, if he wins on Sunday, then suddenly the script is completely flipped on its head, and suddenly the back three actually looks all right. Because let's be honest, it's another tough game. But if he can get through this, then I'm sure he can go in a row with this tactic.
Paul Donaldson's made the comment on YouTube. It's the final. In the final, I think the first goal will be very important on Sunday. We'll come back and talk about that because basically all the negatives from Celtic Park at the moment, it must be a positive for St Mirren as well. They've been up and down this season, but as far as I can see, not because Robbie's on the show, but I think Stephen Robertson's done a good job. So I sat down today and I spoke with the St Mirren chairman John Edom about all things St Mirren, but also looking forward to the game on Sunday. So here's my chat with John today.
Unbelievably so, Michael. So thanks for having me on, and looking forward to Sunday very much.
So before we get into the final, John, in more detail, St Mirren has just launched a third kit last week, given by the fans, and I know it's on sale now. So if you can tell us a wee bit about that.
Oh, that's good opportunity to plug it. This year we ran a competition amongst members of our fan base, and the winning design. So we had 5 really good designs actually. So the winning design was selected and kept under wraps, and really until obviously the run up to Christmas. So it was launched this week. Delighted to say, as we hoped, the response has been fantastic. It's a beautiful sort of purple colour, so it's turning paisley purple as the tag, and I think it will sell in good numbers. So I'm looking forward to seeing the team play in it and seeing plenty of them, obviously on the seats around the stadium as well.
So let's and you're hoping that the fans would wear them on Sunday as well at Hampden Park against Celtic. What's your feelings going into this game, John? Because I bet you there'll be nerves, but also there'll be a bit of excitement as well.
Yeah, you're always nervous, and actually, I'm a good sleeper, but I have to say this week I've been sleeping less well as a result of the game coming up. But so yeah, you're very excited about it. I think it's great. We've sold our allocation of tickets, so there were only a few briefs left the other day. So we'll have over 14,000 fans there. And as a fan myself, that really fills me with pride. So that side of things, it's just fantastic for them to get a day out. We don't get to Hampden that often, and we would love to do that more regularly. So first time in a final since 2013. So there's great excitement in the town and among the fan base. And I think, this is great for our players. We don't have a team of superstars, but we've got some really fantastic professional players and some great young, emerging players as well. So for them, it's going to be a tremendous experience as well. So I spoke to Stephen on Tuesday night, and I know he's well up for it, and the team will be as well. So we'll be on it on Sunday, I'm sure, and the fans will be, I'm sure, as well. So they'll make plenty of noise and hopefully give that energy you need to get us over the line and bring the cup back to Paisley.
You mentioned 2013 there, John. We in Scotland, everybody looks in the kind of fishbowl, as it were, of Celtic and Rangers, and probably you would maybe put in Hearts and Hibs in that kind of fishbowl as well. But it's brilliant for St Mirren to reach a final. I mean, just talk to us about we always speak about the financial backing in the game, but obviously over the years, St Mirren, in terms of, I don't know about your budget, but a lot of people might be saying that you're kind of like overachieving.
Yeah, I think that's fair in terms of pure budget. We are. In the last 3 years, definitely overachieving. I think we're at a level now which is probably the best we've had since the 80s, and I think that's really through spending what we've got really well. So I think we've done that. We've given Stephen a decent budget, as much as we possibly can, and he has spent it really well. The recruitment's been very good. When you look at some of the players that we've managed to secure, and Stephen's a great improver of players. That's one of his absolute spike, capabilities. He takes guys who maybe a wee bit lost or have had an injury and struggling to get back into the team at the previous club, and he re-energizes them, and he fits them into a system. He's incessant on the training ground. In terms of the system and the way we play, and I think he makes capable guys really perform. That talent's got to be there, but he kind of unleashes that. So I think we've spent our money well. In turn, our fans have really turned out as well. So we've increased our income. We just reported at our AGM a record turnover this year. For last year up to May 25, That's double. When I joined the board 5 years ago, we were just around the 4 million turnover. We're over 8 million in the year to May 2025. Now that was helped by Europe, our 4 games in Europe, and also UEFA changed the payments schedule as well. So there was some exceptionals within that, but it's a remarkable achievement. Our season ticket sales are up by probably nearly 50% since 2021. So we've created a bit of momentum, and I think that, and a sense of real togetherness, everyone focused on the club strategy, has really galvanised us and made us perform much better and more consistently than in maybe the previous 5 or 10 years before that. Yep.
You mentioned Stephen Robertson, a brilliant job that he's doing at St Mirren, and you mentioned Europe as well. How big a achievement was that to see as chairman of St Mirren back in the big time in Europe?
Well, that was a real highlight. When I hand on to whomever in due course, I'm sure I'll look back on that as one of the highlights. I remember standing in Iceland with a guy I went to primary school with, and looking up at the fans was just, I'm getting emotional talking about it just now. It was fantastic. So that was a real highlight because generations of our fans hadn't experienced that. So it was great to see fathers and sons, fathers and daughters, mums, grannies, all there enjoying the experience. So that definitely was a major highlight for us. But the 3 top 6 finishes. This will be the semi-final this year was our 3rd in that period also. So across the piece, the data would show that we've performed well in that 5-year period.
I suppose you could associate St Mirren in Europe with Scotland going to the World Cup, because not a lot of people saw Scotland get the last World Cup in '98, and I suppose that you could say the same thing about the new generation of St Mirren fans, that they've not saw the club in Europe.
Yeah, absolutely. Just given our size and Scotland's size, it's probably quite a good, analogy and comparison. For us to be at the top table, we really have to be at our best, and that will be the same on Sunday. If the team are at their best, then Celtic will need to watch out. Because we can play a bit, and we've got guys who have got real talent in the side.
I suppose you're getting Celtic at the right time. Obviously, coming off of a defeat by Roma last week, Hearts last Sunday, Wilfried Gnonto coming into the team. But as I said to you before we started recording, you were very, very unlucky not to beat them the other week at St Mirren Park. So, who do you think will be the key men for St Mirren on Sunday?
I think obviously we'll need to defend really well, because Celtic have that quality, and they've got guys who, they maybe not performing as well as they might as a team at the moment, but they've got some real quality in the team. So we'll need to defend well. So the goalkeeper and the defence will be absolutely vital. But going forward, I think wing backs are going to be important for us. We've got real pace in the wing back area. Jayden Richardson is like lightning if he plays, and Declan John on the other side, his delivery into the box is fabulous as well. So those will be really important players for us. Killian Phillips obviously is a real talent in the midfield, and just seems to get stronger and better as we go. And we've got guys up front, who can score goals. Mika Mandron's much underrated, I think. But give him space on his left foot, and he showed what he can do in the semi-final. And Dan Lundell, who's really come on since he came to us. He wasn't probably as fit as he might have been when he arrived, but he's shown us in the quality of goals he's scored, both in the semi-final against Hearts at the Smythe Stadium as well. So we've got threat up front, and we've got a decent, strong bench. We'll be bringing on guys who are, internationalists, with other countries off the bench. And I've been following St Mirren since 1967, a long, long time. And I don't ever remember us having that kind of depth. So the squad's good. We've only really got one injury worry, I think, going forward into Sunday. And I think, we've got capability for sure.
Finally, John, looking beyond the cup final, what's your plan for the rest of the season and beyond? Is it to get St Mirren back in the top six and to get back into Europe?
Yeah, definitely. We've not got as many points on the board this year as we'd hoped, but we're probably only 3 or 4 behind where we were last year. So, we're not that, because of the number of draws in the league, I think we've not fallen that far behind, really. Top 6 is definitely a target. And, another semi-final or final in the Scottish Cup would be fantastic as well. It'd be great for the coffers. And Europe would be amazing, because because of the coefficient, we're going to lose slots next season. So this would be an opportunity for us to get into Europe as well. So, I think we've got the capability, we've got the players, we've shown we can do it. And, with Stephen at the helm, it definitely is a possibility. Longer term, we're just trying to build resilience into the club such that we can keep this going, because we've worked really hard over the last 5 years to build the club up and get us up there. So the key thing is to maintain that and make sure we continue the success going forward.
Okay, thank you, John Eden, for joining us early on in the show. It was good to meet him, and a good chat as well, Robbie. And I know that you've had a chat to him in the past. He's a very interesting guy.
No, a very interesting guy, Michael. As I said, I've had him on my channel before. We had a bit of nerves chat. Obviously, on football related, he's part of a brass band and stuff like that, which is interesting. So,
yeah.
He's a very interesting guy, a very good guy as well. He's a big St Mirren guy, which is always nice to see. And your chairman, he has total belief we can do it at the weekend. And, I was just sort of listening to Robinson's presser there, and he made some really good notes about, showing no fear against Celtic. You need the final third to be on point and be able to create chances. But you also need to show Celtic total respect, because we know what problems they can cause. Say whatever you want about the way they're playing now. They have millions and millions of pounds worth of quality on the park and on the bench. So I think Robinson and John as well, during that chat, they've both been very honest that we'll need to be at our best against Celtic on Sunday. And we'll need to take our chances when they come. In terms of just quickly with the fitness update, Mark has trained this week. Happy birthday to Mark, by the way, Michael, as you informed me before we came over there. Can't believe he's 30. It's wild, still wild to me. But he has trained. Robinson has said it might be a game too soon. I think they were training at the stadium today, so we'll see how that one goes. I think that'll be a late fitness test. I think Malik Dyche's out as well for the game. So it's looking like it's going to be pretty much a full squad on our end. And I am just, Michael, I can't lie, listening to that again and listening to Robinson, the nerves are, I think, through the roof now for this game.
I think as well that when Stephen Robertson said in this press conference today about have no fear, go and show, because it's a one-off game. This is where it's slightly different to the league games in Scotland, where you play Celtic or Hearts or whoever 3 or 4 times, but this is like a cup final, so it's totally different. And also it's totally different because it's not at St Mirren Park or Parkhead. It's a neutral venue, and obviously St Mirren's taking a big. In fact, I think the set sold out the allocation for the game, so that's good to see. So have no fear.
Aye, show faith over fear seems to be the motto for this cup final, Michael. It's been getting sort of bantered around by the supporters, and I think that's spot on. You know, we need to go there with belief that we can win. There's no point in turning our attention to what Celtic are doing, how Celtic are going to approach the game. You know, their key players. Why not focus on our key players? Why not look at guys like Kelly and Phillips, who's just absolutely phenomenal? I know John mentioned about Mikel Mandron. I've probably got slightly different preferences on him compared to John and some of the other supporters, but he can be a really clinical player. He can be a very good player for us, so can they all. I mean, young Fraser Taylor, Michael, I know you'll like hearing this. I fully expect he's going to start at the weekend. Another youth player put into a big game, and I think Fraser knows he can handle it. And I think I'm hoping we go out and leave everything on the pitch, because you notice in 2013, nobody really gave us a chance getting into that game. I mean, before the cup final, we'd lost away 2-1 to Dundee. We drew with Dundee United 0-0. We lost to Celtic 2-1. You know, we'd only won one out of the last 5 before that cup final, and then beat Hearts 3-2. Obviously, I was talking about earlier how we beat Celtic 3-2 in the semi-final. So, you know, I think, Michael, and I think you say this all the time, form completely goes out the window with a game like this. It doesn't matter how both teams are playing in the league or domestically or in Europe or anything like that. This is a one-half game at the National Stadium, the Barclays National Stadium now, as it's called. And we should just show no fear, faith over fear. And I truly believe we can go on and beat Celtic and win the cup.
And not to add any more nerves to the attention, Robbie, but you've just reminded me it's sponsored by Barclays now. You could actually be the first Scottish team in history to win a cup, but also could be named at the Barclays Stadium.
I know Barclays Hampden been named the Premier Sports Cup champions. That would be a good ring to it, but. No, it is going to be such an interesting game. Reagan, I'm interested to hear after you. I don't know if you've heard Nancy's press conference or anything like that. I don't know if you have. What's the sort of fitness looking like for Celtic? Is there any players that are maybe a doubt for the game? Is there anybody that might need a late fitness test?
No, I was just sort of saying that he's looking to freshen up the team for Sunday to see who else he could bring in. So I'm interested to see who he's talking about there.
Graham was saying about set pieces as well. Paul Donaldson was saying about it's a final. I think. See, I don't know about you guys, right? But I think the first goal is going to be crucial in this game, obviously because it's a final as well. But how is like St Mirren going to, you know, if they go ahead, how are they going to? How's the fans going to react as well? And Reagan,
Robbie will be having a heart attack.
Yeah.
But that's like I'm coming on the show on Monday morning with grey hairs on Monday night. With all grey hairs.
But I suppose it's the same to you, Reagan, because if Celtic goes down a goal early, Celtic's not been playing well over the past week, and obviously they've got a new manager. Is it going to add more pressure on to Nancy's team?
Yeah, I think that if he loses on Sunday, Michael, a lot of the fans will turn against him. It's just the way of life, the way that Scottish football is. But I hope for his sake that he can really put in a performance that the players and the fans can really believe in, Robbie, because see, in terms of the match last night, right, I was under no illusion, Robbie, that it was going to be a difficult match. Celtic fans were under no illusion that it was going to be a difficult match. But, I mean, Celtic fans, they wanted to leave that game and maybe see that them being kind of something to believe in, Robbie, but there wasn't any of that.
If Celtic had played the first half against Roma like they did against Hearts, there would have been positives to take away for the game. But, you know, let's not forget, no every single minute Anansi's tenure so far has been bad. The first 25-30 minutes against Hearts, Celtic moved the ball but really nice. They couldn't take their chances right enough.
I think Graham's absolutely spot on. Yeah. I think Nancy he's possibly confusing the players maybe a little bit. Maybe overanalyzing it.
I basically say get it on, Graham. I don't know if you were watching, but I'll say to the guys that have 3 big massive games when you're coming in, like Hearts, Roma and St Mirren. Now, I know that he was keen to put his own stamp on the team and all the rest of it, right, Reagan? But like, if you had 3 games coming up, 3 massive games that's going to maybe define your season, maybe take Roma out of it to a certain extent, because Roma's, a massive team and all the rest of it. Surely you would maybe tweak the system after the St Mirren game, not in day one of the job.
Yeah, Michael, because he's sort of sticking to his philosophy, and I can agree him on that. But as I said to Tino earlier when I messaged him earlier, I just feel like he really needs somebody with a Scottish background in there. All his coaching staff have been the coaching staff that's been from America and from France, where he's been. I think he needs someone in there that knows what he's talking about, like Sean Maloney or a Mark Fodringham. Because no disrespect to Strachan, but Strachan was the very liked anyway. Strachan just sits with his laptop on, and we don't really know what he actually, what sort of value he does. And obviously, we heard from the American lads on the podcast last week, and he says that Wilfred Nancy doesn't really focus on set pieces. Well, we are focusing on set pieces because, as Robbie would tell you, St Mirren are very good at set pieces, so you better focus on set pieces on Sunday, or St Mirren will certainly be going up that stairwell of Hampden to pick up the trophy.
Graham's put it perfectly in the comments, Michael. Set pieces are going to be vital to what we do on Sunday. Any chance we get, we need to load the ball into the box, and I don't mean just corners and free kicks. Generally, you need to get ball into the box against a Celtic team. I truly believe, Reagan, I don't know about you, but for what I've seen for the 3 centre-backs right now, they're very vulnerable to mistakes. They're very vulnerable to make the wrong decision, and we need to be right on top of them.
I just didn't understand it last night either, Robbie. He brought on 2 subs. He brought on Donovan, and he brought on Ralston. He's bringing on 2 right backs there, Robbie.
That's the problem. I know, Reagan, we spoke about it on the show. Why are Celtic playing a back 3 with 3 left-footed centre-backs? It doesn't work. You can't play a back 3 with 3 left-footers. It's putting yourself into mistakes. And obviously, Reagan, I was sort of saying it to you before we came on, like, the players need to start showing accountability, and especially Kasper Schmeichel. I mean, that guy's made a bundle of mistakes over the past week, and he's shown absolutely no accountability for it.
So Reagan.
He'll be thinking about Buckley's Hampden in terms of look at the last few matches he's played there. He dropped the ball against Aberdeen to put Aberdeen back in the contest, and then he absolutely ruins it against Scotland.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there you go. Let's hear from a good friend of the show now, Tony Haggerty from a Celtic Way. I was speaking to him about the cup final this week, and this is what he had to say. Leading up to Sunday's big game at Hampden between Celtic and St Mirren. A bit of a weird kind of build-up for Celtic this week. Obviously, last night we had Celtic had the game against Roma. Sunday we had that defeat to Hearts at Celtic Park, and I think as well, Tony, that when and in the middle of that we had Wilfred Nancy coming to Celtic. Usually you say that you get a honeymoon period in football. You certainly digging at Celtic or Rangers, the big 2 in Scotland, a baptism of fire, you would say.
Yeah, I mean, he's walked straight into the eye of the storm, hasn't he, Michael? No, what a opening 3 games that is. Hearts, Roma and St Mirren. So it doesn't get much tougher than that, does it? A game against the league leaders, a game against a team who are flying high in Serie A and the Europa League, and obviously the first domestic cup final of the season. If he didn't understand what managing Celtic was all about before he came, he'll certainly understand what it's all about after that 3-game stretch, and he will have a clearer picture or indication of what is required in the job. Let's put it that way, Michael.
I think we live in a different generation of football fans, Tony, because, you know, you as well as me maybe saw fans taking to social media on Sunday night after the defeat against Hearts and say get them out the door. But football fans hasn't got any patience now, Tony. I mean, if you don't win maybe about 3 or 4 games, you're kind of like out the door as well. But just because it's coming from you know a kind of, well, French background, but he's managing in America. You know, give him time, because obviously you speak about nonsense in the same kind of bracket as Postecoglou, because nobody heard of Postecoglou, and I remember Aaron Brazil on Top Sport like couldn't pronounce his name.
Yeah, I mean, I think the problem here is fans are so fickle and they're so reactive, aren't they? And you mentioned it there, a honeymoon period. He hasn't been given a honeymoon period in it. And I think that's because Martin O'Neill, Sean Maloney and Mark Fotheringham got some great results, and lots of people were questioning the timing of his appointment. Michael, his reign had to start at some point. But for me, the natural starting time for that would have been after the cup final against St Mirren on Sunday. That's me personally. And I feel a bit for him, because he has, you know, that he's not going to get a honeymoon period, is he? He's certainly not. And, you know, he's behind the 8 ball already, having lost to Hearts. So, you know, and the Celtic supporters, you know, a lot of them, I thought the reaction to defeat against Hearts was bordering on hysterical, Michael, on social media. I have to say that on Sunday night. You can't bleat about there's no challenge, and then when you get a challenge, start blaming everything. You know, blaming the manager, blaming the system, blaming the players, you know, and, you know, Hearts are there on merit, Michael. They're at the top of the table by 3 points for a reason, albeit Celtic have a game in hand. I didn't think Hearts played particularly well on Sunday, but they were well drilled, well organised, well disciplined, and they scored when it mattered, and they won the football match. So you have to tip your hat to them for that. Not the best start for the new manager, but I think you work on the premise that things can only get better for Nancy and Celtic moving forward.
I think as well, Tony, when you watch the game on Sunday, for the first 20 minutes, you were like that, okay, this is like going back to Ange ball, you know, because Celtic were having, okay, not peppering shots at the goalkeeper, but certainly having millions of possession. And then Hearts do. They went up the park and scored, and obviously the second half, that kind of killed the game. I think it was a free header in the box, came from a corner kick as well. But I mean, do you think as well that as time went on, it gave Nancy a bit more time to work with the players kind of like on the training ground? Because if you compare this week to last week, he only had, a day or a day and a half to work with the team before the game against Hearts.
Yeah, it's an unforgiving environment, Glasgow, Michael. You know, Celtic, and include Rangers in this as well, the only language the supporters understand is winning. So when you're not winning football matches, that brings its own criticism, and it can be ferocious. The man has had 190 minutes, Wilfried Nancy, he's had 190 minutes. He's lost to Hearts, who are at the top of the table. He needs time to implement his ideas. He needs players to implement into his system, which makes January even more important for Celtic in terms of, winning the title again, if that turns out to be the case. So, but as I say, when you're a Celtic or a Rangers manager, time's a valuable commodity, which sometimes certain managers don't get. Just ask Russell Martin. So he knows the brief, Michael, and he knows the pressure that comes with it. And you have to win football matches. You know, you can talk about systems and all of that all you want. Winning is the only formula for any of Glasgow's big two. And when one isn't winning, usually the other one's in the ascendancy. At this moment in time, Celtic are still in the ascendancy, but they don't like not winning round about the Parkhead area, you know, on match day.
Looking at the cup final now on Sunday, Tony, do you think that St Mirren will wait for some kind of revenge? Because if you look back at the game, I know the game's all about goals as well, and Karen McGregor scored a brilliant strike into injury time that night, and that really got Celtic kind of like out of jail. But if you were watching that game, you would be thinking, well, Mirren were the better team. And I know Sunday's like a one-off game. It's at Hampden Park as well. Do you think that, do you think that St Mirren will be out for revenge? And do you think that Celtic will be kind of like up for the game as well?
I don't think revenge comes into it in terms of St Mirren. I just think St Mirren are a very good football team with a very good football manager. And he has lost 2 cup finals already to Celtic when he was a Motherwell man, you know, so he's hoping to make it third time lucky. But players are just motivated by the fact that they could win the first domestic trophy of the season. And the St Mirren players will be as motivated and as passionate about winning this football match as the Celtic players are. Now, Wilfried Nancy's got a chance to make himself a hero early on by winning this tournament. But there'll be certainly lots of fingers pointed and questions asked if he doesn't, Michael. I mean, I don't think the form book doesn't really suggest that any of them are in any great particular shape heading into the match. Celtic won, as you say, with Callum McGregor, Howitzer and Paisley the last time, and what a goal it was, a fantastic strike to win that match. But I think certainly, you know, I think a lot of Celtic supporters might have felt a lot more safer and comfortable had Martin O'Neill been in charge. I think the fact that Wilfried Nancy has been appointed, I think that tips the scales kind of more in a 50-50 game. Of course, it's a 50-50 game. There's 2 teams involved. And I think St Mirren might fancy their chances after seeing what Hearts did to Celtic last Sunday. So I think they'll be a wee bit more buoyant about that. But as you rightfully pointed out, Nancy has had more time to work with Celtic, to get his ideas across, to get his message across. And so that time's the most valuable commodity for any football manager in terms of working with players in his squad. So I think, I'm interested to see what shape formation takes to the field on Sunday at Hampden against St Mirren from a Celtic perspective. But it has to be better than the fare they served up against Hearts.
Where do you think the game will be won and lost for Celtic on Sunday?
Cup finals can throw up unlikely heroes, Michael. So and the problem Celtic have had, and they've had it since Kyogo left, is they're operating without a major number 9, a main man, a focal point in attack. Daisamida stepped up to the plate last season, scored a ridiculous amount of goals for a man who's usually whose favoured position's on the left wing. So the attacking areas, certainly for Celtic, have been a problem. And also the wide players with the supply and the ammunition to Daisamida at this moment, who's preferred in the centre-forward role, hasn't been great. So, Celtic do have a problem with scoring in terms of, and you're looking for midfielders. Benjamin Negrin's come up with a couple of big goals. Callum McGregor, as you mentioned. But I always think teams have to go some to beat the likes of Celtic at Hampden. Celtic have been over the course and distance many, many times. And a lot of things need to fall in St Mirren's favour. And Celtic really need to have a major off day. I just think that Celtic have got enough class players and talent in that team to edge it. But I think it will be very tight, Michael. I think it will be a very tight final.
The show from Celtic Skate. No, he's not. He works on the Celtic Way, and Tony is a good guy. He's been on the show a few times. But yeah, It was interesting listening to Tony there about the insight into a wee insight into the Celtic half of the game on Sunday, Robbie.
Aye, speaks very well, Tony. First ever time listening to him, so I thoroughly enjoyed that, Michael. It was nice to hear getting a bit of credit for us being a proper footballing team instead of people just saying we're good physically. So that was nice. But I think it highlighted what I probably highlight talking about Celtic. The Celtic will always have the edge because they've got millions of pounds worth of quality in their squad. It doesn't matter how they're playing. It doesn't matter the form they're in, what system they're using. Celtic will always have the slight edge, no matter who they're playing in a final in Scotland. That's just the way it is. It's going to be a very tough game for us. Celtic know their strengths, whether the time on the training ground that Nancy's had between now and the Roma game will help the Celtic team. We're unsure. We'll need to obviously wait and see. We'll need to see what the team lineup is, Michael. I mean, I expect Nancy will only be too happy and he'll probably want to make some changes for Thursday. So I'd expect to see probably a different lineup to what we've seen the last two games. And I think the one thing Tony pointed out is the Cup's a chance to make heroes, players to step up in big moments. There's players in that Celtic team. Johnny Kenny stepped up and was the hero at Hampden against Rangers last month. In the semi-final, he took his chance. We spoke about Paolo Bernardo on the show last night. You've obviously got guys like Benjamin Nigel that, as Tony mentioned, stepped up with a few big goals. You mentioned McGregor's obviously stepped up with a few important goals. The cup final for both sides is a chance to cement your legacy in Scotland. It's a chance to be that player that you'll forever be remembered for winning the cup by. It is the chance to make yourself a hero. So I'm sure Nancy will. He'll be feeling up for it anyway, Michael. I don't think there'll be any doubts about that. I think the Celtic players will as well. They've been there enough times. That's one of the big differences for me, Michael, between the two sides. St Mirren don't get to a final every day. The players don't get to a final every day. For some people it might be their only final. And it's most of the players first. So and then you look at Celtic on the other hand, they've done it. Obviously McGregor, the trophy cabinet speaks for itself with guys like him, Michael. He's been there and won it all basically, domestically in Scotland. So it's going to be a really interesting game. One I'm looking forward to, and obviously I was just reading there while listening to Tony on Twitter that Marcus Fraser, who might be captaining us out, actually captained Ross County to the League Cup win in 2016. And the referee that day was Kevin Clancy. And Michael, I don't know if you've seen who the referee is for the weekend, but it does seem to be Kevin Clancy again. So there's a few things falling in our direction. Which I can
There you go. Paul Donaldson's made the point that I'm going to predict a 3-1 victory for Celtic after extra time on Sunday. We'll get you guys predictions in a minute. Graham makes a comment here saying St Mirren have ran Celtic close this season in both occasions. Do you think that Robbie St Mirren is going to take a bit of heart from that, even though that they've never won, but they can go toe with Celtic, and remember it's a one-off game, anything can happen.
Yeah, I believe if we show up on the day we can beat anybody, and I don't think Celtic's any different, especially with the way they're playing right now. Of course, form, as I mentioned earlier, does take a dip, but it's hard not to see that there's a few teething problems with Nancy's new system. So I think we've got to take every belief in the world, Michael. Tony said it, and I know Robinson spoke about it in his presser as well. He's been to 2 cup finals against Celtic. He lost them both. That was very early on in his managerial career. I think he's very open and honest that he's learned a lot since then. And these players, they can. I truly believe they can beat anybody on their day. And if all 11 players are up for it and they all implement the game plan successfully, plus the 14,000 St Mirren fans getting behind the team, if everything clicks together on the day, then it could be us lifting that cup.
Yeah. So from a Celtic point of view, Reagan, they've beaten Hampden lots of times before, but form goes out the window, and obviously Celtic hasn't been performing well over the past week, or maybe since the beginning of the season. I don't know what you would feel, but yeah, I think you called it right early on, Reagan, where Martin and they'll come in. Okay, the football wasn't brilliant, but they were still getting 3 points.
Yeah, I think that's right, Michael. And I think in terms of like Celtic, I don't think they're playing too well at the moment, but I think these matches you can get right up for it. So I think at the end of the day, Celtic will be up for it as much as St Mirren. But my own personal opinion is, Robbie, that I would start Ian Andrew up top and play my as a wide player. I don't know what you think.
I think that's probably Celtic's best approach. It's not the approach I want to see happen, of course. I think we'd be well more suited to defending against Maeda through the middle than we would out wide. I think Maeda causes a lot more problems for teams when he's playing out wide. In my opinion, Reagan, he's naturally better out wide as well. So I think if you're Celtic, you'd want him to start out wide. But look, for me, there's more interesting positions. I'm looking forward to seeing the back three for Celtic. Reagan, I personally can't see a world in which Nancy keeps that same back three. I don't know who he's going to play and substitute for something else, but he just can't keep that same three.
I think you will, Robbie.
For me, that's writing yourself into problems. I mean, three left-footed centre backs is just.
I agree with you, but I think that's who he'll play.
I think it would be costly to play that same back three. To be honest. I think the midfield's an interesting one as well. I thought Hatate was really, really poor on Thursday night, Reagan. I don't know about you, but I don't think he played his best stuff, so I'm wondering if he's maybe thinking about dropping Hatate.
Okay, before we get your score predictions, guys, who will be the key men for both sides on Sunday? I'll start with the home team in this one, St Mirren.
Aye, I think it would be easy for me to say every player, but you know, there's different players in different positions in the pitch, Michael. I mean, I think Gogic at the back is going to be also vitally important. He's going to need to play a really, really good game. Both the wing backs are going to need to be really solid, but for me, the front two are going to need to be right on top of Celtic. That's where everything's going to come from. They need to be able to take their chances when they come. That's the most important thing. You know, we've played well against Celtic the last two times we've faced them. We've not scored. As simple as that. We need to start scoring in these games. And if everybody links up and everybody does their job well, there's no reason why we want to be lifting that cup, to be honest, on Sunday. So, aye.
Reagan?
I'm going to go the key men for me will be Phillips, and from a Celtic point of view, Rio Hatate. But my prediction I'll give you in a minute, Michael.
Okay. Cancel that minute and let's go to Reagan first on the predictions for the. By the way, if you've got a prediction of the cup final, let us know who you're going to win, who you like to see. Would it be Paisley or Glasgow on Sunday? And subscribe to the YouTube channel, the Scottish Football Zone on YouTube, and you can subscribe on Spotify and TikTok. We're everywhere nowadays. You can't get rid of us. We're like a bit of chewing gum stuck to your shoe. But anyway, I don't know where that came from. But I love chewing gum as well. Reagan.
Just before Reagan gives his score prediction, Graham's gave the best score prediction of all time. I love it.
At half time. Yeah.
I still wouldn't be confident we'd see it out, Michael.
6-5, maybe. Yeah, I can't know. Yeah, okay. Reagan, what's your prediction for Sunday?
My prediction is St Mirren 1, Celtic 1, and St Mirren to win in penalties.
Oh, yeah. Of course, Celtic's got a brilliant record in penalty kicks at Hampden over the years. Robbie?
I'm going to go St Mirren 2, Celtic 2, and St Mirren to win it on penalties. And I think, by the way, I've said this all week, I think Shamal George is going to score the winning penalties. That's how long I think it's going to go on for.
Robbie, I remember when I think it was Celtic played Dundee United, I think it was, and Arthur Boric scored a penalty 2009, I think it was.
Aye.
Yeah, so That
You had
could.
mind Joe Hart try to take one and no one missed.
Oh, was
Yeah.
that game Robbie, against Aberdeen?
Aberdeen.
Aye.
Yeah. Semi-final.
Unfortunately enough, on that day, Killian Phillips missed Aberdeen's penalty to give Celtic a cup.
He did, I remember that.
Aye. Aberdeen fans
I'll go, Robbie. You are a good man on the show, but I'm sorry, I'm going to disappoint you. I will go St Mirren 1, Celtic 2, in 90 minutes or 95 minutes as well. Depends if we've got any VR calls in the game. So
Michael, I was just going to say that. Graham made a good point. I hope this final doesn't get ruined by VAR. And by the way, I don't just say that because we're in it. By the way, I don't want any football game getting ruined by VAR. And I think Sunday's no different. I hope there's no controversial VAR decisions. I hope it's actually a good game of football.
I was obviously we'll come on to speak about the Kilmarnock game in a minute or two, right? But I don't know if you guys saw Stuart Kettleware's press conference today for the Aberdeen game, right? But there was only one question about the Aberdeen, about the game against Aberdeen, and the whole press conference was about that Jack Butland incident last Saturday night. So VAR starting to ruin. Supporters talking about the game after the game, but also we're still talking about VR. What's that? 7 days on.
It ruins press conferences, Michael. I actually just watched a clip of Jose Mourinho in a press conference for Benfica, and this fan, there was fan media in the building, and this fan, I'm not joking, he asked probably one of the best questions I've ever heard. It was he brought up something about the way Jose switched a midfielder to play more wide, and it was just brilliant. It was an absolutely amazing question, and it's what I want to see more. I don't want to sit and listen to press conferences that are just boring. And let's be honest, though.
Robbie, you've seen that in Celtic. Celtic have banned more people. They've banned the Celtic Star. They've also banned the Celtic Cynic, who also Celtic Cynic also, can I just say, they don't just cover the men matches. They do lots of coverage on the female games as well. And actually, I would go above my station here and say that the Cynic do one of the best jobs in Scottish football about actually talking about the ladies' football.
They promote a women's game so well, and to see them banned for all women press conferences as well is absolutely idiotic in my opinion. I think it shouldn't be happening. And the fan media and the fans, they deserve a say in the game, Michael. And again, as I said, Kettlewell so far in his Kilmarnock tenure, we'll speak about it more, has probably been labelled as boring in his approach to press conferences. I think that'll be fair enough if you ask Kilmarnock fans. And no wonder he's having to go through press conferences constantly getting asked about things that are so irrelevant now. There's no wonder he's getting the same type of answers. I actually feel bad for managers in press conferences these days.
I mean, I think that's why I know Michael would know about it as well, but that's why so many managers and players these days, Robbie, are totally media trained, because they get asked some of the most boring questions as possible. And I think supporters would rather that the managers are asked pretty decent questions as well.
I always try. I mean, Regan, I know you've been along a few this season. I've done a couple. When you go, you always want to ask the questions that are important and ones that we genuinely want to know as fans. And I just want to, can I just come in on something quickly? I have just seen the scheduling's been announced for the Scottish Cup 4th round. I don't know if this is true. Apparently, Auckland Talbot Celtic's been forced to be moved to Rugby Park. Apparently,
yeah.
I don't know if that's true. Which is, after selling hospitality, that's a baffling decision to me.
I did say that weeks ago, Robbie, that the game will be moved to Rugby Park to get more kind of like bums on seats and more money for Auckland Rec.
I think that absolutely ruins the point, Michael. I think.
Yeah, I know, because they played Hearts and Ayr United there in the Scottish Cup.
Aye, in my opinion, the whole point of Auckland Talbot making it this far is because a team's going to go there. I mean, look, I'm not saying Celtic are going to struggle and lose by any means. I think Celtic will win, but the whole point is they're meant to be going to this away ground where it's not exactly the best quality. They're not able to it's not like a full stadium. It's going to be a tough game for Celtic. It's going to be a graft, you know, that kind of.
That's
That
why
kind of thing.
I mean, that's why you love watching the FA Cup, for example, when you see like Woking Town playing against Man United.
Yeah. Paul
Yeah.
Donaldson makes a good comment there, guys, very good before you come in there, about it's poor to move it to a stadium with a plastic park.
I think it's just poor to move the fixture altogether, to be honest with you. I mean, forgive me, I can't remember what team it was. It was last season. I think your Tottenham went away in the cup to another league team. Tamworth. Aye, and you know, that was the pure magic of that game. I remember watching that and I was stunned because, you know, you're watching these top quality players playing on a pitch that they should never be anywhere near, but it was fun. It was funny to watch. So I don't know. I think that's a terrible decision, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Some good. I mean, I think in terms of the actual TV picks themselves, it's everything we probably imagined it would be. Obviously, Hearts game, Rangers game, Celtic game. I think Dunfermline Hibs are on BBC. So it's a decent.
I think as well, Robbie, it takes away that magic in terms of. I remember when the Auckland and Talbot played Hearts, and you felt like Auckland had a genuine challenge. Look at even when United under Steven Gerrard played against Ayr when Shankland and Alan Forrest were playing for Ayr, and they went 1-0 up, and then Alfredo Morelos scored against them and stuff like that. These are the matches that you want to be at your home stadium. You want to be there, even for like say 20 years time. You go, I remember that match at Beechwood Park when we played against Celtic. You know.
I remember when Darvo knocked out Aberdeen at their home turf. I mean, that was still good. I sorry to bring that up, Paul, but like that's one of the many results that will always go down in Darvel's history. You know, that they will always remember.
Or we could take it back to Brora Rangers against Hearts.
Aye.
Sorry, Graham, but that's a massive one the last couple of years.
Yeah. It just ruins it moving
it. Maybe it's to do with safety and police. I'm not
actually
sure.
It has to do with the police, apparently, Michael. That's why it's been told to be moved.
But so let's move on to Paul's team. When we were talking about VAR there, Paul says Aberdeen has been done by VAR. I think every team under the sun has been done by VAR as well. At some point during the past 2 seasons. Let's move on to your team. They are on Sunday. Disappointing result. I don't know if you were at the game, Paul, but they take on Kilmarnock on Sunday, Reagan, and I think he said, Robbie, it's a 3 o'clock kickoff, just half an hour before the first kind of major final of the season. That's a bit of a random time, and I mean, I don't know about you guys, but they should have made it like 2 o'clock kickoff, 12 o'clock or whatever, but not half an hour before the first kind of big final of the season, Reagan.
Maybe Aberdeen fans are not interested in it. Maybe the Aberdeen board done a poll and said, "Well, do you want to watch the final or do you want to watch Aberdeen?" They just went, "Oh, bugger this." No, I'm joking, by the way. But I mean, in terms of what Aberdeen have been doing, I've been actually impressed with them the last few weeks, guys. They'll beat Hearts, they'll beat Dundee. I know Stephen Presley's been dreaming. I almost said Elvis Presley there, because I was nearly dreaming. But I mean, in terms of like over the last few weeks, Aberdeen's kind of turned their form around. So fair play to Jimmy Tillene, because he's actually managed to bring the supporters back on side. So I think for me, Mike, I know we'll go into predictions, but I think for me this has got to be I think this has got to be 3 points for Aberdeen. But also on the other hand, I mean, Stuart Cresswell, he needs a victory so bad, because I think that's seven straight defeats. I think it is, Robbie.
No, I think it's now 8 games without a win. I think there's 2 draws in there. It still begs the question, Reagan, where is Kettlewell, where does his future lie if he loses at the weekend? I personally think, Reagan,
The,
if he loses
kettle,
it,
the kettle will be boiling if he doesn't.
I think it may reach boiling point if he loses in the weekend. I think it might be sacked, to be honest with you. And it's not the way I thought it was going to go, and I can hold my hands up now on the show. I said when Kettlewell signed, I thought it was a good appointment for Kilmarnock. I like Kettlewell as a coach. I thought he was going well at Motherwell. I thought he would do well at Kilmarnock. It's not obviously worked out that way, and I can admit I got it wrong, but I can also admit to Paul that I got Aberdeen wrong. I thought Tulane would have been sacked by this point as well, and it was a really heartbreaking, pitiful loss against Strasbourg. Last night, Paul, I thought Aberdeen showed up really well. I thought they gave themselves a really good chance to go and get something out of that game. Obviously, the goal getting ruled out deployed in the help, but Paul knocked a bit off the team. But I think, Paul, I don't know if you agree. I think that can be a Conference League campaign that you can be proud of as an Aberdeen fan. I think there's maybe against Noah, you should have been expecting to win that, and I think you'd be disappointed. But games like against Strasbourg, I mean, you're not expecting to do anything in that. They're a top European team, so to even go and give yourself a good chance against them, that's a good performance you can be proud of, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one example, Robbie, of Aberdeen sticking by the manager, because obviously Jimmy Tulling got off to a brilliant start last season. What was it, 13 wins on the bounds of 14, and then Celtic beat them in the semi-final of the League Cup. And then obviously Aberdeen fell over a cliff. Guess what? He's still there, and he's turned it round a wee bit.
Aye, it has, Michael. I remember reading your article a couple of weeks ago and managers getting sacked too quickly. I think Celtic fans could take a page out of that book, to be honest.
Since I'm my work, by the way, Robbie, I've been doing it there.
No, it's really it's so impatient. And to be honest with you, I don't disagree that if Kettlewell was to get sacked, if Aberdeen beat Kilmarnock this weekend, I think that would be fairly justified. He's not won about 8-9 games now. It doesn't look like it's going to turn around. If I was a Kilmarnock fan, I certainly wouldn't be disappointed if Kettlewell was to leave come Monday.
Yep, and so let's get your score predictions on Aberdeen against Kilmarnock on Sunday, Robbie.
Yeah, I'm not going to go for an Aberdeen. I'm going to go Aberdeen 3, Kilmarnock now.
Regan, what about you? Do you fancy the Dundee Dons, or do you prefer to put the kettle on?
I'm going to go Aberdeen 5. Kilmarnock now.
I could definitely get sacked after that.
Paul Donaldson was saying story about the World Cup. Ticket prices on the BBC News website. I've never heard of BBC before. Just now, the cheapest tickets as well against Hickey is. Yeah, I know that's. We're going to be. Paul Donaldson says, I would love the scoreline. Buck will take a 1-0, and I think you would. Reagan, especially at home. I mean, no matter what, no matter if you score in the 5th minute or the 95th minute, it's all about getting the 3 points.
Yeah, and I think if it's not about 3 points, I'll be saying, see you, Jimmy, because I think Aberdeen have had a difficult season, but fair play to Jeremy Tulane. He's managed to turn that around, Michael. So I think Aberdeen will get the 3 points on Sunday, and like me and Robbie will be on Monday, and I would be very, very surprised if by 7 o'clock, Michael, if Stuart Kettlewell is not sacked as the manager.
I'm going to put just to keep Paul Donaldson happy as well. I'm going to go for another 2-1 to Aberdeen on Sunday. But there you go. So that is the game on Sunday. Let's have a look at the games on Saturday. We've got another 8 o'clock kickoff. Reagan at the Falkirk Skigam, and it should be good under the lights at the Falkirk Skigam. Hearts against the League Leaguers, Falkirk against the League Leaguers Hearts.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this game, Michael. 8 o'clock on a Saturday night, but a bit of a strange kick-off time. But I'll tell you something about it, Michael. It'll be a lovely pie and it'll be a lovely football match to be involved in. So I'm quite jealous about everybody going along to that game.
Robbie, just in case you don't know, and I don't know why, because you've been on the show for about 10 years, Reagan likes his pies.
Nah,
Especially a Falkirk pie, Robbie. It's the chicken curry pie is beautiful, Robbie. Absolutely stunning.
We should actually do a show about Reagan testing all the pies in Scottish football.
See, that's what we can do. Well, me and Robbie are going to party for something. We could do a wee pie review at half time.
Reagan and Robbie's pie review. We'll get that done. But no, I'm really looking forward to this game, Michael. Graham summed it up perfectly when he was on the show last week. Hearts can't beat Celtic and then go away to Falkirk and drop points. They need to keep this momentum going. That's a very big confidence booster beating Celtic. I'm sure Del Boy would have been absolutely delighted at that result. And now he's got a really tough test away Falkirk, and there's going to be no easy game. Falkirk are in 7th for a reason. They're joining points with Aberdeen in 6th. They're only 3 points off of Hibs in 5th, so they're having a very good season. John McGlynn should be delighted with the way his team's doing this season so far, and they'll be looking to try and cause an upset. Look, Michael, I'm not a fan of the Saturday 8 o'clock. We recently played one against Celtic, as you know. I don't like them, but this is made. I think this game's tailor suited to a Saturday night 8 o'clock kickoff.
Wait a minute! I've started something, Robbie. Sorry. There you go. Paul Donaldson says the chicken pie at Marlow are really good. Never saw it anywhere else. There you go. Reagan, I'm sorry to say, but you can't really go to Fir Park tonight.
Well, Motherwell need to upgrade their pies because the last time I had a Scottish pie from Motherwell, it was soaking a grease.
Not no ever beat the St Mirren macaroni and cheese pie. That is for everyone.
I did see on your Instagram.
Man. Amazing.
What have I started? Oh,
what is this podcast?
We might get that sorted out. Reagan's pie tour.
But I know St Mirren and Celtic are both sponsored by Pie Sports. Robbie, is that still the case at St Mirren?
They are, aye, and for a very good reason.
Aye, because see at the Celtic game last week, there was Mexican pies on board, so I might get a wee Mexican pie next week. And
aye, Pie Sports do some brilliant pies at the months, man. Some absolutely fantastic stuff. I think I've got Christmas one coming.
Hopefully Pie Sports will hear us and sponsor us.
By the way, just in case you're tuning in, welcome to the Scottish football. Welcome to the Pie Zone special as well. We might add that to the show for next week. What's your favourite pie? But there you go. Robbie, you were saying about the game tomorrow night, Falkirk and Hearts.
Aye, it's going to be a cracker. Falkirk are right on the table. Hearts are even further up the table, and it's just so funny seeing the Hearts fans and Celtic fans go head to head on social media recently. It's, one figure that we know is not very popular. In some places, Ewan Cameron's been very vocal with Hearts.
I hope Ewan sees this. He's starting to do nothing, it really is.
I love it.
But I would still love to get him on the show to debate with him because he's a great guy to be involved in Scottish football. He's done some great commentary. I'll never forget that real radio commentary. It's a goal for Chris Malimo. No score!
I don't know who Ewan Cameron is.
It has been good, and look, Hearts need to keep that form going. If Hearts can go up to Falkirk and get a win tomorrow night, it sets a huge landmark. I've been sort of holding off, Michael, to say it so far this season. Hearts are in with a genuine chance of this title this season. They are. We can try and hide away and say whatever we want to say, or Celtic are still favourites, or Celtic will bounce back, or Celtic will do this. Hearts for me are favourites now. No favourites, but they're highly likely that they're going to be pushing for the title this season. And I think by the end of the season we'll see that. I think they'll finish at least second. I don't see them dropping below second now, to be honest with you. I think they play Rangers soon. It won't surprise me if they go out and beat Rangers. I think it's 1-1 at Tynecastle. I think they'll win that as well. And I think Hearts will seriously kick on now, because they've just got that winning mentality about them right now. They've got that never give up, never die attitude that we see Celtic have so many seasons.
So, what about your predictions on the game tomorrow night? The Falkirk Stadium rubbish, Falkirk against Graham Hearts.
I think it's going to be a tight game. I don't think there's going to be many goals in it, but I think Hearts are going to sneak it. I'm going to go Falkirk 1, Hearts 2.
Oh, I think Reagan's talking to Ewan Cameron there as well. So I will go 1 each in this one. So there you go, because I feel as though it's because of a tight game, Robbie. The Falkirk's under the lights as well. Falkirk's a good team.
And what a player Cammy Devlin is, just as Graham mentions him there. I mean, he is phenomenal, man. Like Graham's been banging on about him for the longest time as well. He's sensational. He's if not one of the best midfielders in the league. He's so underrated. He's so good at what he does in his role. It's a player that Graham's right. He can't afford to get booked. He's a really important player to Hearts.
Michael, I mean, I even said on the TikTok the other day that I believe that Devlin is the top player so far this season.
Reagan, what about your prediction for the game?
My prediction is Falkirk 2, Hearts 2.
Oh, Desmond, I went for 1 each, and you went for 2 each.
Look at
Robbie's going for 3 each.
That must be a big fence you've built there.
Yeah.
Robbie, I'm getting the skills on the fence. They're getting stuck in my butt. I'm on the fence often.
Yeah. I mean, I know Donald Trump's building the wall between America and Mexico after the World Cup, but we're building the fence now, Robbie, as well. It's a virtual fence. I don't know where, but it never moved.
But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Exactly, yeah. Let's move on before we can really put the backside out of this thing, out of the wall. It's a nice wall, actually. Tomorrow, we have got 2 games on: Dundee United against Motherwell and Livingston against Dundee. Dundee United and Motherwell, I think, out with the cup final, Robbie. I think this is one of the games of the weekend for me.
I think in some senses, Michael. Obviously, I got to watch Dundee United first hand last week. My old pal Jim. It was me an inspirational performance, put it that way. I thought they looked very flat in the final third. They didn't really create a lot. Sapsford wasn't really getting up too much. It feels like, Mike, I'm not going to lie to you, at St Mirren it did get to a point where you feel like the wheels were sort of turning with Goodwin when he left. It was getting to that point where the fans were maybe starting to turn a bit of an edge on them. It feels like it's getting to that point.
Is that you giving your pal Jim some praise there, Robbie?
I was giving him praise last week, certainly no, but I think the wheels sort of turning. He needs to start winning games. He needs to start picking up points again. This is going to be a really tough game for him. He's facing a team in the league that just are so nice to watch. Motherwell are so easy to watch, so nice on the eye. They've found a brilliant manager, probably a better manager than Vima would have been by this point, I think, personally, to be honest.
I was going to say the prize are a bit greasy, but the boys.
But it's going to be a tough game for Goodwin. It's a game that I think the fans expect him to win. I think he almost needs to win it, guys. I think he comes under some amount of pressure if he does to win this game, because let's not forget, Dundee United signed a good handful of players at the summer. They signed a lot of international players to come in and play. There was huge expectations on what they'd achieve this season, and he's got a falling off the mark right now.
Reagan, Dundee United has got Motherwell on tomorrow, but they've also got a game in hand on Wednesday night against Celtic. So 2 big games coming up at Tannadice.
Yeah, I mean, I know they say for over proud. I don't know what they say about Tannadice for treats. So there's a few treats at Tannadice over the next couple of days.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I've got to give a special mention, Robbie. I don't know if you saw this in the week to John Attenborough, a friend of the show, that he's going to see the team for the first time because he's wearing some special kind of software so that he can see the team. And he said that he's been going to Tannadice for so many years and he's not saw the players kind of live. By the way, just in case, sorry, I should have said to people not knowing of John Attenborough, go and check him out on Twitter. But also, John Attenborough is registered blind and he's getting a hell of a lot of work over the years, probably for accessibility for disability football fans.
A very touching story, Michael. I think that's how I put it. I was almost getting emotional reading his tweet that he put out. As John's such a inspirational guy, the work that he's done for disability in Scotland can't go underlooked. He's such an amazing person. He's got such an amazing story. And honestly, everybody in life deserves to watch football if it's your passion. And John's making that possible. Also, I'm not too sure the company that's got the headset that he's going to be wearing, but big shout out to them for providing that to John, because it's given every fan the right to watch football, and that's what John loves. So, huge credit to John, huge credit to the team behind it as well.
Yeah, well said. I think it's an English company, but I'm not sure the name kind of like offhand. But if you haven't saw it, go and check it out. He's all over social media, and I think it was on the TV last week as well. So check his interview out, and it's going to be an emotional game for John tomorrow to see his team in the flesh, but also if they win the game, Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, John's a fascinating story, and I hope we'll get John on in the next few weeks, Robbie. I think that'd be a good sit down with John as well to speak to him. But actually, I think John's story is a great story about the amount of positive things going on in Scottish football.
We like to come on shows and speak about perhaps the negatives. We spent a lot of time on VAR, we spent a lot of time on other subjects that maybe aren't as positive, but I think we can all come on the show and say that's a very positive direction for not just football but for life in general, and for John especially. It's such a moving story, and as I said, John's such a nice guy. He really does deserve to watch his team play football.
Robbie, I know that you've got to disappear in a few minutes, but I would like your take quickly on the Livingston Dundee game tomorrow. What's your predictions, guys, for Robbie's best pal Jim Goodwin against Motherwell tomorrow?
Reagan, you want to go first?
In terms of the Robbie, in terms of the derby that Robbie wants to watch tomorrow, in terms of that match, I'll go for Dundee United. I think they're going to beat Livingston.
They're not playing Livingston,
Motherwell.
Oh, Motherwell. Sorry, Jim, then I'm going to say it's going to be 2-0 to Motherwell.
All right, I'm going to go 4-0 to Motherwell. And I think
he just stuck the boot into Big Jim.
Not for the first time.
Don't think the guy you and I, Brew, will be next to me, sees you.
Okay, so I will go with a I will go with an away win tomorrow. Sorry, John, but hopefully you enjoy your day. But I will go 3-1 tomorrow. So there you go. Robbie, I know you've got to go in a few minutes, but just to ask your opinion about this Livingston against Dundee. I think this is a kind of 9-pointer game tomorrow instead of our 3-pointers tomorrow. But what do you make of this? I don't know if you thought, Robbie Reagan, what do you think of Livingston having a community day and they're giving tickets away to local schools to attend this game?
I can look at it two ways, Michael. I think it's good because they're trying to grow their fan base. They're trying to obviously bring in local people from the Edinburgh area, the kind of Livingston area. And also the other side of it is that I think it's a bad look when your club is trying its best to attract supporters as well, because obviously it's so difficult for them because they've got loads of clubs in Scotland in terms of the Edinburgh area. We know that Mikey that used to be on the show, he used to be a supporter of the club as well. So obviously he knows firsthand about how many fans turn up. So I think it's difficult for them because obviously they're trying their best to bring in supporters, and hopefully they can bring in a big crowd on the back of doing that.
Robbie, what about yourself?
Sorry, Michael. I was just going to say I agree with Reagan. It's so difficult, especially where Livingston are sort of based, where they're not a million miles away from Glasgow and other places. It's very easy for supporters to go and people coming into Scottish football to go and I'll go and watch somewhere else, and all the neutrals gone to different places. Let's be honest, guys. Livingston versus Dundee is not exactly a spectacle in the making, is it? It's no. Again, it gets excited. Of course, it's a relegation battle and it's interesting.
If it was inside my door, I'd close the blinds.
Of course, there's huge consequences to whoever loses this game, especially Livingston. I mean, at what point, we're on here speaking about Kettlewell, who's outside the relegation zone. I know he's not winning about 8 or 9, but as a guy that's outside the relegation zone, at what point do we speak about David Martindale being under pressure? And I know everybody's going to question, and who do you get, and if you sack him, I completely understand that. But managers can't stay in a job forever, and Martindale can't either, and he's sitting bottom of the league with 8 points. He's 4 points behind.
Presley dreamed about staying in that job forever because he likes a good dream, does your Stephen?
But how long before we actually speak about David Martindale potentially getting sacked? Like, at what point is that a conversation? Because he's got it at some point.
I hate Reagan this, but
I mentioned it in 2020. I said he'd be the first manager sacked because the previous season there was a terrible run, a terrible run of form. But fair play to Davey, he's done really well, and I'm really happy for him because he's a good manager.
Yeah, no, he did mention that, Robbie, years ago, that David Martindale was going to be the first man to get manager sacked. And guess what? He's still in a job.
6 years later.
Yeah. Maybe he'll keep his job for Christmas, I'm not sure. Robbie, Livingston against Dundee, we'll get Reagan's prediction in a minute, but I know that you've got to run for the hills before Celtic beat you. And no, I'm only kidding. What's your prediction for Livingston and Dundee?
You're going to extend that fence. It's 0-0 written away. I can tell it's going to be 0-0 at Livingston. It's going to be boring. There's going to be about 5 shots in the match, and there's going to be a point there.
Robbie, you're not making that a very good advert for people who go along there in the morning and pay their £20 again.
Look, if you want to go and watch Livingston Dundee, feel free. But I definitely say Dundee United Motherwell is a better prospect in my opinion. But just before I go, as a really good championship card, I know you guys will speak about
that.
There's obviously a good match tonight, United St Johnstone. I'm looking forward to watching that one if I can fit some time in. Obviously, Reagan's Partick Thistle travelling to Arbroath. It'll be interesting to see how they get on. Arbroath are a big underdog team this season. Their Fairmont versus Queen's Park should be interesting. Obviously, we're finally going to see the end of Tony Docherty as well with Rovers and Ross County. So Aye, there's a lot of good matches on tomorrow, but aye, a day, unfortunately, to get gone, lads. I'll speak to you in a wee bit.
See you later, Robbie.
You'll be back on Monday.
Aye,
And,
when we win the cup.
yeah, well,
Robbie will
maybe.
be back Monday as
maybe
long
not.
as long as St Mirren win the cup. If St Mirren don't win, I'll be on by myself. So
Yeah. So thanks for joining us, Robbie, and we'll speak to you soon. Have a good weekend.
I enjoy the game, guys. Enjoy whatever game you score to, whatever game you watch, and I'll speak to you later.
see you later, Robbie.
Let's speak about the game of the weekend, Livingston against Dundee. A good advert for football that Robbie gave it a good promotion there. Reagan, what do you think the score prediction will be in this one? I mean, I think I don't know if you saw David Martindale's interview, but he said it's more like a 9-pointer game. And I can totally agree with him because I think Dundee and Livingston will meet again after the split. I know the split's a while away, but I'm just getting out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to go against Robbie here, and I'm going to say Dundee are going to win 2-0.
Yeah, okay. I will go for another draw, I think, in this one. Livingston 1, Dundee 1 as well. Have you been a bit kind of disappointed?
You better get off the fence. You've been saying draw for every game here.
I know it's a bit cold out here. But have you been a bit disappointed with Livingston this season, albeit they come back up? But I mean, they've always been there or thereabouts, but maybe this is a step too far.
Aye, because I've always been impressed with David Mullins, the players that he brings to the club, like Graham Carey, Stevie May and stuff like that. So I've always been impressed with the players that he brings in. So I have been slightly surprised and disappointed.
Yep. So that is the final game tomorrow. It's a lesser card tomorrow because Rangers aren't playing. I think Rangers are due to play St Mirren this weekend, Reagan.
Yes, I think Rangers are playing Monday.
On Monday?
Yes, Rangers and Hibs is Monday night.
Right, okay, right, okay. Let's talk about that game quickly because you caught me off. You caught me off. Is this show live? I didn't realise that I was moved to Monday night. So let's talk about that quickly then. Rangers against Hibs at Easter Road as I quickly moved to see my notes. But yeah, what do you think, Reagan?
I actually think this one is going to be a Hibs win. I think it'll be close, but I think that obviously it'll be. I think it'll be a close one. I think Rangers will do their best, but I think for me, Michael, I'm going to go for Rangers 1, the Highbees 3.
Yeah, so it's because the quarter kick-off on Monday night at 10 cast. So it's a bit of a weird time to have a game, Reagan, but you know. Yeah.
And and Robbie's actually asking you, have you had a couple to drink on the
Yes,
I thought you said you were only drinking apple juice, Michael, but it might be something stronger by the sounds of it.
Yeah, it's milk. But I completely forgot about that game. But yeah, that's how you're here for, Reagan. Robbie, Reagan can keep me right. But yeah, I mean, do you think that Rangers always think it's very difficult at Easter Road? But now that they're getting a win and run together, albeit, I mean, I know you said about Martin with Celtic, but I suppose you could say the same thing about Danny Roll. The football isn't great on the eye, but they're still winning games.
I think you are drinking, Michael, because the game's at Ibrox.
Yeah, no, East Kilroga, man, yeah.
No, the game's at Ibrox. The game's at Ibrox.
Yeah, no, yeah, of course, Reagan, yeah. By the way, if you've tuned into the show, it's a nightmare. Probably said, "Get to your bed, son." Yeah, okay. I'm good. I think I'm in my bedroom now, and I'm dreaming about the show. Actually, it was going so well. But yeah, I mean, what do you make of this game, Reagan?
I think it'll be a close one, Michael. I think ultimately, I think Rangers will try their best. They'll try and score goals, but I just don't see Rangers scoring that many goals. I suppose the big positive for Rangers over the past few weeks has been Mikey Moore. I think he's been really good from Tottenham. And I think that obviously Rangers will be hoping that they can get a home advantage. But for me, Michael, I was impressed with in terms of David Gray's team last week against Falkirk. 3 goals, a clean sheet. I just think that in terms of that, in terms of Bibby, in terms of Ellie Johan, in terms of players like that, I just think they'll be too strong. And I think for me, I think it'll be 3-1 to the Highways.
3-1. There you go. I will go the opposite way. I will go 3-1 to Rangers on Monday night against Hibs. Do you think? I mean, obviously, you never saw much of the Rangers game because you were on your way to Celtic Park last night. But I mean, Rangers scarkicked the game well. The first 20 minutes. But I mean, as you know as well as I do, the game's not about possessing. The game's all about putting the ball in the back of the net.
I mean, and Rangers didn't do that often enough. But it was a great goal. It was a great goal by Mirovski. A great finish, great bicycle kick. But ultimately, fairness for us, they totally should have won the game, and they got the deserved 3 points.
Yep, and so that's the game at Ibrox, not East Road, Ibrox on Monday night. Rangers against Hibs at Ibrox. Let's move on to the Championship game then. There's a big game tonight. Ayr United against St Johnstone. Arbroath against Regan's Packet Thistle. Morton against Ayr Queen's Park against Confirming. And Red Rovers against Ross County. I was going to say pick your game, Regan, but I think I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, Michael, first of all, when it comes to the Championship, I just want to pay my respects to Neil Lennon. Obviously, his mum and dad have both passed away recently. Dunfermline have said because of his dad's passing today, he will not attend any matches that are going to be this weekend. So he'll not be at the match this weekend, Michael.
Yeah, and that's very sad to hear, especially about this time of year as well. And you know yourself, football it takes a back seat when you hear things about that. So hopefully, Neil Lennon and his family is okay. Big shout out to them, and hopefully they're well. And it's a difficult time as well. But the game tonight, Regan, is a good game. Obviously, you're going to go to Arbroath Packet Thistle because that's your pick of the weekend. But Ayr against St Johnstone is
no, Michael. No, I have to be honest. I was going to jump in there. I think that the pick of the matches this weekend is going to be the match at Ayr, St Johnstone.
I'm actually I don't know with you, Regan, but I know you saw St Johnstone a few weeks ago. But I think this is the first game I'll see St Johnstone tonight on the telly. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Yeah, I mean they played well. I quite enjoy their songs, Michael. You enjoy that? They've got a Josh McPeak song. You'll quite enjoy that. Yeah, Josh McPeak. He's got a very good song, so you'll enjoy that as well. But got a lot of good players in Johnson. They're looking forward to hopefully putting their stamp on this match.
Yeah, no, exactly, and speak to us about Packet Thistle. Obviously, that you've been following them for a few weeks now. you're a new supporter, well, not a supporter, go not, if you haven't, go and check it out, because Regan's best pals with Alex Ray now. So go over to Spotify and go type in the Scottish Football Zone, and you can hear all the interviews Regan has gigged with Packet Thistle and other teams as well. But yeah, give us a quick word on Packet Thistle, Regan.
They've been really good to watch, Michael, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the players. I interviewed Aidan Fitzpatrick. He's been really great over the past few weeks, and obviously, they've got quite a lot of good players for that level. Partick Thistle's obviously got a big match next weekend, which I'm looking forward to going to, Michael. Is Partick Thistle against Raith Rovers. Dougie Emery taking his Raith Rovers team to Maryhill. So looking forward to going there. But Partick Thistle's got a lot of good players. I see Alex Samuel as well. He's making headlines this week. So Partick Thistle's got a lot of good players.
And that's us finished. It's been a busy show because it's been more busy because I forgot about Rangers and Hibs at Ibrox on Monday night. Regan's keeping me right as well. Thanks to Regan.
And I'm just going to say off the back of that, then we'll actually go live at 6 o'clock on Monday then. So
we'll be going live on Monday night at 6 o'clock to give you the team news from Ibrox. Rangers against Hibs, looks back at the cup final and all the games in between in the Premiership. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's on YouTube. It's the Scottish Football Zone, and why not follow us on TikTok as well, because you know you want to. And Spotify, it's the Scottish Football Zone as well. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Regan. Thanks to Robbie. Thanks to all your comments. We'll do it again Monday night at 6 o'clock here on Scottish Football Zone.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.